Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Mosser. That is one of my best friends, David Cahoon, and you're locked into another episode of the Commissioner's Couch Fantasy Football Podcast. Tonight marks episode 25 of this show, David.
25?
A number 25, bro. A
Man.
number that crazy. It feels surreal, to say out loud.
Quarter of a way to 100?
That's crazy. 25 episodes of building this thing from, brick by brick, week after week, trying to create a space where real football talk and real fantasy insight actually meet in the middle, and somehow, every time we sit down on this couch, the momentum feels a little stronger and, than it did the week before. And this week, this one feels like a turning point. The 2026 NFL draft is officially in the rearview mirror, and now we get to do what we do best. Take everything that just happens and translate it into what it means for fantasy football. Because the draft just doesn't change rosters. It changes depth chart. It changes opportunity. It changes value. It changes the entire landscape of who matters and who doesn't in fantasy football. Last week, we broke down our top winners and losers of the draft in terms of individual teams, and then we shifted into our favorite and least favorite landing spots for the 2026 NFL rookies. If you did not see that episode, please check it out. Not to mention, we spent 10 weeks, David, before the draft, breaking down dozens of these rookie prospects. You're better off going to listen to all those episodes for sure.
Absolutely.
And tonight, we're going to keep that ball rolling and break down our NFL veteran winners and losers today, David. Coming out of the draft, obviously for fantasy football purposes. The players who gained steam, the players who lost ground, the guys who just, got a boost from their front office, and the ones that got blindsided by a rookie walking through the door. This is where we separate the hype from the truth and figure out who actually comes out ahead. But then, that's actually only half the show, right, Dave?
That is only half, the first half.
Yeah, because after we finish the winners and losers for the veterans, we're stepping into a brand new territory for the first time in the history of this podcast, actually. Tonight, we're running our first ever Commissioner's Couch Fantasy Football mock draft.
Let's go.
Dude, I'm so excited. It's going to be a 3-round, 12-team dynasty rookie mock draft, standard scoring, live on the show. Well, I guess this is a pre-record, actually, so not necessarily live, but
live for us.
Live for us. This is something that we've wanted to do since, the day we launched this podcast. And now that, the audience is growing and now that the community is forming, and people are showing up every single week, it finally feels like the right time to open this door. And this is just the beginning, right, Dave? We're going to be doing more mock drafts to see as the season gets closer. We're talking about redraft. We're talking about dynasty, super flex, tight end premium, all of it. I heard about some new leagues called vampire leagues or pirate leagues. I'm going to look into those and talk about those a little bit. Vultures. Yeah. There's another one called an Empire League. There's a ton of crazy Empire where if somebody wins back-to-back ever, the league just is done. Like canceled.
Oh, wow.
Your league is over. So that's an Empire League. That's pretty crazy. But nonetheless, we're going to be talking about all these, and then eventually we're going to be rolling into our listener leagues. So some of you can actually draft with us, and we'll actually have fantasy football leagues with some of our listeners. You can compete with us and be part of the show in a whole new way. Episode 25 is a big one, I think, Dave. A new chapter, a new lane, a new level for this podcast. So sit back, get comfortable, settle into your spot on the couch, grab whatever you're drinking tonight, and let's talk about the 2026 NFL draft.
Let's do it. And as you said earlier, the draft is like the great reset for fantasy football. It kind of marks the, turning of a page from last season to this season and getting ready for what this next football season has in store. So It's a great time to do some reflecting on all the changes that have come, which we'll do at another time in another podcast. But it's also a good time to see what veterans have benefited from the draft this year. So that's what we're going to do for this first part. It's going to be really good. But yeah, if you're not following us, please follow us wherever you are. We are on X, Instagram, Twitter. I think that's the same thing as X, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We're everywhere where you're trying to be.
Spotify, anywhere where you stream podcasts, we're there. Go follow us, please.
And turn on automatic downloads and leave us a 5-star review.
Absolutely, yeah. Before we get rolling real quick, I just wanted to, I take a minute every single time for the past, 2 months, it feels like, to talk about something that really means a lot to me and my family. Most of you already know this by now, but my son James, my 4-year-old, is a wildlife encyclopedia, and he's entered into the Ranger Rick Junior Ranger competition. This whole thing is built to highlight kids who genuinely love nature, kids who explore, kids who ask questions, and who see the world with curiosity instead of fear. And this dude just is an animal freak and loves nature. Right now, James is in the top 5 of his group, and by the end of this week, I think actually in 2 days, they will have the winner of his group, and that winner will move on. James right now is actually in 4th place in his group. So, excuse me, goodness, seltzers. Wow, that's disgusting. I apologize. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. He is in the top. He's in the top 5. He's currently in 4th, and he's gonna need a little help. We are just doing this just for fun, and just to, we've been doing videos and stuff for my son and recording him, just talking about all of his stuffed animals, going to different zoos, and it's just been a really, really cool experience. And that's what this has all been about. I'm not, counting him out until, he's out. So, they're still voting. You can still vote once for free. And I would just greatly, greatly appreciate it. Dave, do you have that QR code? You could scan this QR code right here and vote for James. You can go vote once for free per day. Like I said, he's not out till he's out, and we got a couple more days left. If you can't scan this QR code, please go to on my Twitter or on X at dynasties CLE. At dynasties CLE. I'll retweet it as this goes live, and I'll make sure that it's up there so you guys can vote. Please vote for my son. I'd greatly appreciate it. But nonetheless, regardless, this has been so much fun. This actually might be the last time I talk about it because, like I said, he's got quite a hill to climb, but I'm grateful for it. It's been a lot of fun. I'm grateful for all of you guys for letting me talk about it and also for voting. So.
Yeah, thank you guys for all the support. So before we jump into it, we do have a couple of sponsors to talk about. So the first one is Alley Rose Fragrances. Discover Alley Rose's collection of handcrafted candles and body mists made with clean, minimal ingredients. Everyday product is thoughtfully created in small batches, free from harmful toxins for mindful everyday indulgence. Head over to alleyrosefragrances.com right now to order. Please be sure to use the special promo code InsideEdge20 to save 20% on your order today. Again, that is InsideEdge20 to receive a special discount today.
We are also brought to you by Monster Moments Photography. We are a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland who specialize in providing the best wedding photos in Northeast Ohio. Check out our website at monstermomentsphotography.com. That's MOSSOR, momentsphotography.com, right there on your screen.
There you go.
Dave, how you been, man?
Dude, I am good. We are in the final stretch for my work, my job where I work, and we're almost to the easy part of life, summer. So I'm very excited for it. But yeah, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Getting over being sick and just have a crazy house. I'm tired.
Yeah,
but it's fun. That's part of being a dad.
We just got a new puppy, and it literally wakes up like every 2 hours at night, and so
oh no,
yeah, I know it's rough. So
yeah, we have a newborn, 3 toddlers, and 5 freaking baby newborn kittens outside from the barn cat. So that's cool. So my kids love that.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm dealing with that.
I'm sure James is loving that.
James and Cal are both loving it. Yeah, vote for James, please.
All right, well, let's get into this first segment then that we have, talking about the veteran winners and losers from the draft. We're not going to talk about people that have changed to new teams, but we are going to talk about people who are on their team and how players that got drafted to their team are either going to affect them in a positive way or in a negative way. Yep. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, you go first. That's fine. My list is not necessarily in particular order of like my favorite or lead, whatever. I just have a list of players. So
yeah.
All right. I will do my first player. My first player, veteran winner, Chase Brown, running back from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep, I had him on my list too.
Yeah, he might be my top one. I mean, I'll probably say that a couple times, but he walks out of the 2026 NFL draft as one of the quietest, but clearest veteran winners in this entire league. Cincinnati had every opportunity to bring in a real competition at running back, and they had the draft capital to do it as well. They had the need, and they had the board fall to them in a way where they could draft a back many different times, and they decided not to. They passed, and over again, they ensure that Chase Brown is just this guy. I think that tells you everything that you need to know about how the Bengals view Chase Brown. This team has been searching for juice in the backfield ever since Joe Mixon left, and Brown is the one guy on the roster who consistently brings it for them. He's the explosive element, if you will. He's the change of pace that actually threatens defenses. And, now with no, premium rookie added to that team, I think has a legitimate path to carving out a much bigger role in 2026. The Bengals offense is built around speed and spacing. And I think Chase Brown fits that identity better than anyone else in their backfield. He's dangerous in space. He's efficient when he gets touches, and he's shown, I think enough as a receiver that, to stay on the field in passing situations as well. And with Cincinnati investing heavily in their perimeter weapons recently, defenses are going to be stretched horizontally and vertically in a way that creates natural lanes for a back with Brown's burst. The whole question with that whole team is their defense ever going to be competent enough to keep up with their offense, to keep them in games? But their offense has never been the problem. Chase Brown was a fantastic back last year, especially after, Joe Flacco got into that team, and, he took off. The first 6 weeks were rough, but after that, he was a top 10 back. And I think that'll continue as long as, everything stays as planned, everyone stays healthy, which is a big question with Joe Burrow and that offense. But right now, I think the fantasy impact for Chase Brown, I think he enters 2026 as like a high upside running back too, with a real chance to become a weekly flex play. I think if he gets red zone work or takes over passing down snaps, he can easily outperform his ADP, no question. So.
Yeah, I agree. He's a big winner for the draft for sure. The fact that they pass on running back the entire draft just kind of speaks to how they view him. I am curious because I feel like every offseason, the hype for Chase Brown just continues to build and build and build. Like
he's good.
Year. I'm curious to see how high his hype gets this year, but also B, to see like if he can actually live up to it this year. I feel like he's got some expectations, and I think he can finally live up to those this year. So
I got those expectations this year. I'm very high on Chase Brown this year.
Yeah. All right. My number one winner that I've got is a wide receiver for your boy, Jaden Daniels. That would be Terry McLaurin. He is the clear-cut number one wide receiver on that team now. They really have no other option in the passing game outside of some rookies. And I think that he's just going to be a target PPR machine moving forward. And with Jaden Daniels coming back into that offense, going to be a dynamic passer again, I expect him to put up big numbers. And so he's a big winner for me in the draft. I really thought that they were going to take another wide receiver either early in the draft like Jordan Tyson or in the second round, and they passed on it both times. And look at us now.
I love their rookie receiver Antonio Williams, though. So I think he will like Antonio Williams, decent percentage of the completion rate or just the looks in general. But yeah, I do like Terry McLaurin there as long as he can stay healthy. He had that major quadricep injury last year that kept him out 8 weeks. But yeah, when he's out there, he was shown time and time again that he is their number one for a reason. So
yep, yeah,
I like that.
All right, who else you got?
All right, my second one, no order, Cam Scatterbo, New York Giants running back. I think he's one of the clearest winners of the entire draft cycle because everything the Giants did and didn't do points directly towards him being the centerpiece of their run game. New York spent months connected to the top running backs in this class, but once Arizona jumped them and sniped Jeremiah Love and when everyone thought they wouldn't do that third overall, the Giants pivoted. Instead of replacing Scatterbo, they reinforced the infrastructure around him. The biggest move in the draft for them probably was drafting Francis Mauigoa, who I love. He was my top offensive lineman in this draft. Violent, heavy-handed guard who, he was a tackle. He's being pushed into right guard now, which is interesting. Immediately transfers right side of that line. I think sliding him inside creates a power pairing that fits Scatterbo's downhill style perfectly. This is a team that wants to run the ball with attitude, and they just built the exact type of runway I think that their young back will thrive behind. When he was healthy last year, he flashed real juice. Obviously, before the injuries, it slowed him down. We have to see how he comes back, but the idea that they didn't draft his replacement is obvious what their intentions are with this player for this season. He's going to get a full offseason, a fortified line, and zero premium competition added to the room. I think that's a trifecta that you want when projecting a second-year breakout. I think he could be a locked-in RB2 with an RB1 spike, depending on the week. The workload, the blocking, the scheme all point upward as long as he recovers properly. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think he's a big winner for sure. I'm not too worried about him coming back from that injury. I feel like he'll be back 100% in no time.
Yeah, I just worry about the style of the player in general as well.
Sure. Yeah.
But especially for just durability and sustainability in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think he's a clear-cut winner, should be the running back one for that team moving forward and be a really good touchdown machine, in my opinion, next year.
Yeah.
So my second winner that I have in this offseason would be Brock Bowers, the tight end for the Las Vegas Raiders. I feel like this one's another pretty clear and obvious one, but somebody who is going to be the target machine for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Is he your Pookie now? Is he your first official Pookie?
He is my first official Pookie. So Congratulations. You have Trey McBride. Is that your Pookie? And I have Brock Bowers.
Garrett Wilson was my original, but
that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's my Pookie. He's my all-star, going to be just a stud. I think this year, in particular, they never drafted a wide receiver in this draft, and that is a clear, glaring need that they have. But they still got their franchise quarterback, who might even need some time to develop. But Brock Bowers is going to be the main focal point of this passing game, and without him, that offense is not going to go anywhere. And so he's just going to be the key piece of this machine moving forward, and going to be a PPR machine moving forward. So I love his outlook on fantasy right now. I fully expect him to be tight end one this year. I would be shocked if he's not. So
yeah, he'll be up there for sure. So yeah, I really like the pick for sure. I think it's a no-brainer there. He's a winner. Especially since they didn't add other pieces in that, receiving room, which is dumb. I think Jack Besh is their top receiver right now. Maybe
that or Thornton.
Maybe fourth round pick.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nonetheless, nobody of competition compared to Brock Bowers. So
correct.
All right. My third winner for veterans was Josh Downs, wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts.
Yep. You love Josh Downs.
I love Josh Downs. I do. I think he finally gets the breathing room that he's been waiting for. Last season, he was buried behind, Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Tyler Warren, and stuck in rotation that never made sense given his talent, I think. But the Colts offseason completely reshaped the depth chart. Pittman has obviously gone to Pittsburgh, and the team didn't spend early draft capital on a receiver. Downs really only competition is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, a veteran who's not somebody who's going to block a young playmaker from ascending. I don't think. Downs has always been the best separator on this roster, and the path is absolutely clear now for him to become a featured option again in this offense. This is, I think, the first time since his rookie year that the Colts passing game actually needs him. And when a player with his skill gets the volume, production follows, I believe, as well. I know that I said this last year about him. I know. But I truly think that the path could not be even more clear for him. This is his season to shine. He's going to be, I think, a strong PPR wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside if the Colts can lean into his route running and short area quickness. So I really, really, really like Josh Downs a lot. Yeah,
I do too. I had him and both Alec Pierce as winners this offseason because they're really being relied upon.
I'm just not as high on Alec Pierce, which is funny because you usually got to follow the money, So.
Yeah, but I am curious, though, to see what happens and how much Tyler Warren will be ascending into that passing game now.
That's one of my Pookies as well.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with him and if he'll take any of that middle of the field type of work from Josh Downs. But I'd like the pick, though. I think he'll be much more involved in the offense moving forward.
Oh, absolutely.
So the next player that players that I've got as winners for this offseason would be the Green Bay Packers wide receiver room. So Jaden Daniels, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden. I think they are all winners here because they have moved on from a number of other wide receivers on that team. And now the opportunity is there for those three to kind of be the big three in that room. Jaden Daniels is somebody who's battled through injuries. Same with Christian Watson. Matthew Golden had a really up and down rookie year, a lot more downs. And so I'm really excited to see what happens. Can they build consistency? Can we see more of the flashes that both Jaden Reed and Christian Watson have produced in their young career so far? And can Matthew Golden ascend into that first round talent that he was drafted at? I think that they can. I'm curious to see what happens, but I think for fantasy purposes, all three of them are going to be very involved in the game. Jordan Love should distribute it really well to all three of them, and I think that they will just be very good, streamlined players to key up on matchups against every week. So I like all three of them. I think that they're on the rise, and if you are in a dynasty league specifically, maybe now is a good time to buy low on some of them. So,
except for Golden, he sucks.
Not my favorite of the three, but his trajectory is looking up. So,
sure. All right, my next winner for veterans, Bayshal Tutin, the running back out of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh yeah.
I think that sometimes the biggest win is, simply avoiding competition, and that's exactly what happened for Bayshal Tutin this after this draft. Jacksonville didn't draft a single running back, which is a massive overconfidence for a player who's already trending towards a larger role in this offense. Chris Rodriguez Jr. and LaQuint Allen are still around, but neither has the profile or investment to threaten Tutin's grip on the job. The Jaguars clearly believe he can handle early down work, and the lack of additions in the room, confirms that. I would say. I think Tutin enters 2026 as the favorable lead in this backfield, and in an offense that should be more stable this year. I think that's a very valuable role. Excuse me. I'm thinking maybe an RB3 with a real chance to perform his ADP if he secures some goal line work. So I think he's definitely a winner. So
yeah, definitely a winner. And I think for fantasy purposes, opportunity is always king. You want players to get touches and get the opportunity to score and make big plays. That's going to be available for him. And so I love that as a winner for this year's draft. I'll be curious to see what happens and what that passing game looks like. I'm a little worried about it, but I think Bayshal Tutin should be really good for fantasy this year. There's a good buy low candidate too.
Did you see that Liam Cohen came out and said that, of course, Travis Hunter is going to play offense. I told you.
Yeah.
People freak out.
Yeah.
I wasn't nervous.
Just biting my nails a little bit.
No, I really wasn't. It is what it is. But
I'll see what happens. But
but nonetheless,
Parker Washington, wide receiver 1.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. So my next winner that I've got is also a running back, but this guy is a veteran, and I feel like every year we have the conversation: is he finally going to fall off the cliff? Christian McCaffrey is not going to fall off the cliff this year. This is a year where he's going to put up running back 1 numbers again and just dominate. Do you know why? Because they didn't get any other weapons on that offense. George Kittle may not play for half the season this year. Who do they draft with their first pick in this draft? A wide receiver that everybody thought was a reach. So I'm just fully convinced CMC is going to be the main focal point of that offense again moving forward, going to be the dynamic back that he is of catching passes, but also running for touchdowns and just be a touchdown machine for them. So if you have CMC, expect running back 1 numbers this year for fantasy because he's going to put them up.
Yeah, I will say that they did draft a running back relatively early. I think it was 90th earlier overall. Kalen Black from Indiana. Obviously, he's going to be the RB2 there because of the investment. But yeah, I don't think he's going to threaten CMC unless he's obviously just injured. So.
And even if they're both on the field, CMC is going to then be used as a passing weapon and not so much as the running threat.
Sure.
You can still do both, but I think even with Black on the field, CMC is still going to be the main focal point.
Yeah, and it's important to think like last year, CMC was a top 10 receiver as a running back, which was insane. So
yeah. So yeah, I'm fully convinced he's going to be doing that again this year. So
good pick. Yeah, we'll see. They had some additions on the offense, so that should help them out and get them open a little bit more. So, all right, my next winner, David Montgomery, running back from the Houston Texans.
That's a good winner.
Thanks. I think that Houston made their identity clear. They want to be the most physical offense in the AFC South. They traded for David Montgomery early and not cheaply, and then doubled down by adding Wyatt Teller and Braden Smith in free agency. And, then they weren't done, obviously, because in the draft, they added Caitlin Rutledge, who was a nasty guard, very, very great people mover, and Marlon Klein, who I think is a great blocking tight end who fits their run heavy vision very, very well. I think, And the biggest signal of all, obviously, is they didn't draft another running back. So, like, this is the guy. He is, I think, the unquestioned lead back in this offense. And it's an offense that wants to impose its will. He's going to get volume. He's going to get the red zone work. He's going to be on the field, in every game script imaginable. I really like him. I think he's a rock solid RB2 with weekly RB1 usage. I think he's probably going to have one of the safest workloads in fantasy football this season.
Yeah, I would agree.
I like David Montgomery a lot.
He's going to be a really sneaky good running back one candidate this year. He has always been dynamic as a playmaker. Even when he was splitting reps at Detroit, he was still putting up really good numbers. And then you think back to his time in Chicago, he was still a good running back. And so I think with the dynamic offense that Houston has, that's been so pass heavy over the last few years, bringing in somebody like a David Montgomery is just going to be a great addition to them.
Yeah.
So let's talk then. My last person that I've got, then we can move on to the losers. It would be none other than, I've got a few. Let's go with this one. Jonathan Brooks, running back for the Carolina.
Ooh, that was my honorable mention. I like that one.
Yeah, I think so. It was really easy for Carolina to go into the draft thinking like, oh, we need to address the running back position. We have players that left us over the offseason, went to Pittsburgh. We have a player coming back from 2 torn ACLs. What is his knee going to look like next year? Nobody knows. But the opportunity is going to be there for him. And I think that he was the most coveted running back from his draft. Was that 3 years ago now? And so I think he's going to be somebody who will demand some touches when the season starts, and he should be 100% by the time the season starts too. So I think that's just going to be a great opportunity to buy low on somebody like a Jonathan Brooks, and just see what happens. It might just be like a lottery ticket and you might hit it out of the park, or it could be a nothing burger, but still provide you 5 points every week. Sure. It can ride your bench. But I think for Dynasty League specifically, he could be a really, really good buy low candidate right now.
Yeah, and you've held him on your taxi squad for 3 years now. So, it is important to know that he was cleared to participate in the Panthers offseason program and is nearing full health. And he's obviously recovering from that back-to-back ACL tear. Obviously something to monitor, but, still all of the signs are pointing to the Panthers, to expect him, to be the guy and the lead in that backfield for next year. So, I like that pick a lot, David. I think he's got high upside RB3, but could become a weekly starter if the offense stabilizes. So.
Yeah. All right.
I got one more.
Let's hear it.
Jeez, give me one or two.
Two.
All right. Rashee Rice, wide receiver, Kansas City Chiefs. I can't talk. I think he survived the one thing everyone expected. Kansas City drafting wide receiver early. Names are floating around. Jordan Tyson. That was pretty much the main name. Maybe Mekhi Lemon as well. But with the first 2 first-round picks, the Chiefs had every opportunity to bring in one of those guys, and they didn't. They didn't even draft an offensive player until the 5th round. That tells you everything you need to know about how they view Rashee Rice in this offense. He is their wide receiver 1. He's the guy that they trust, to grow with Patrick Mahomes. And after an offseason where, his availability was questionable, for sure. He comes out of this draft with his role not only intact but strengthened, I think. When Mahomes has a receiver he trusts, that player eats, and that's Rashee Rice to me. I think he's a high-end wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upsides in PPR formats. Volume plus Mahomes equals fantasy gold, and that's what Rashee Rice is going to be this season.
So I'm curious, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't start the season and misses a few weeks,
sure,
how does that affect your outlook on Rashee Rice?
I mean, he's still the wide receiver 1. He's still a veteran winner. Depending on, he's been out. He was out last year 6 games, and he was still wide receiver 1 when he was in. He was a top 4 receiver when he was healthy. I guess it just depends. I still think, who's their backup over there? It's Justin Fields. Justin Fields can dump off the Rashee Rice. I'm not worried about it too much, especially with Kelsey there. They got a couple rookie running backs I'm excited about. It does lower my rankings for him for sure a little bit, but I still, we're talking about veteran winners here. Rashee Rice is a veteran winner. So
okay, fair enough. I've never been as high on Rashee Rice.
And
I'm again doing it again this year. Not very high on him.
The other player I was going to talk about was DJ Moore. So
I like the DJ Moore one, but that's a good one for another podcast where we find new homes. All right, well, let's jump into the losers. All right. So the veteran losers that we have, I'll go first this time. I feel like number one loser, which is really sad because I was really excited for him at one point this offseason. You're muted. I didn't hear what you said.
I know.
Would be Derrick Henry.
Ooh, not who I was thinking.
No, okay. I'm curious to see who you thought I was thinking. So yeah, somebody who came into the offseason I thought was going to be like a big focal point. They got a new coach who wants to run the ball more, but they lost a lot of offensive linemen, and they really did not do anything to try and address that. They really tried to fix the passing game in the draft, and so
they drafted Vega Leon though, buddy, the best guard.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Just so you know.
Yes, I forgot about that. Now, well, then that kind of defeats a lot of what I was saying. But I still feel like Derrick Henry is going to fall off a cliff because he's getting old. So I'm going to double down on it.
They did draft Adam Randall. Did you hear the what happened with the running back that they drafted? So in the 5th round, they drafted Adam Randall. I think it's from Clemson, and he the owner was like, "Hey, can I make a pick?" And the GM's like, "It's your team. Go ahead." And the owner picked that running back. So. Yeah, that's what happened. So he's on the team. I actually really liked him. Obviously I don't know about the path. We don't know how long Derrick Henry is going to be on that team for long, or just valuable for that team in general. But I mean, I do like the player a little bit, and I think it's interesting that the owner picked him. So there's like the theory that maybe we should get this guy involved a little more because it's an owner pick, like Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if this new coaching staff in Baltimore want to get back to Lamar running the ball too.
Well, I think Lamar's got the yips, but go ahead.
No, I'm not arguing that. But I do think if the coaching staff does want to run the ball more with Lamar, I do think that that's going to eat into Derrick Henry's carries and also his touchdown scoring. And so that's another reason why I think I'm out on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry was incredibly frustrating last year as a Derrick Henry.
Oh my, owner. Up and down.
Oh my gosh. So I don't know. At the end of the year, he obviously stabilized and was a little better, but it was a roller coaster for sure. All right, my number one loser for this veteran class is none other than Tyler Algier, running back for Arizona Cardinals. Basically,
he's on my list.
I'm compiling all these running backs together basically for them. But, Tyler Algier left Atlanta to escape Bijan Robinson, only to land behind the 3rd overall pick in the NFL drafts, running back Jeremiah Love. Arizona's draft capital tells the entire story, obviously. Love is the centerpiece of this offense moving forward, I think. I think Algier becomes a high-end handcuff at best. He'll get some work, of course, but the days of projecting him as like a breakout candidate are absolutely over, I think. This is Jeremiah Love's backfield, and Tyler Algier is the insurance policy. And that goes for James Conner as a loser as well, and Trey Benson. James Conner's role evaporated the moment Arizona drafted Jeremiah Love. The team is clearly transitioning to a younger, more explosive backfield, and Conner is the odd man out for sure. He's still, I think, maybe a capable player, but the volume that made him, a fantasy relevant player is gone. Unless he finds a new home, he's off the redraft radar completely for me. So
no, yeah, I agree. And unless he gets traded to a team that needs a running back, there's no value there for him.
Exactly.
So yeah, I agree with you on that one. And it sucks for Tyler Algier. Like, you spend your whole life and NFL career building up to this, and your rookie season, you put up 1,000 yards, you have a good season. Only for the team to then draft Bijan Robinson. Okay, so then you stick around, wait it out, go to free agency. Like, okay, I'm going to go sign with the Cardinals because I can be the running back one there. And then they draft Jeremiah Love. It's like living in your worst nightmare over and over.
No, he's still a millionaire. I don't care.
I mean, yeah, he is. But, like, man, it sucks for him. And so I feel bad. And I'm a current dynasty owner of him. But, yeah, I still think he'll have a role for himself because they paid him. But I don't think it was as good as it could have been going into this offseason.
Right.
All right. So my next one that I've got, I'm going to do a double one, kind of like I did last round. So this is the Denver Broncos wide receivers,
Go ahead.
Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin.
Oh, receivers. Disregard. Go ahead.
Yes, I said wide receivers. So Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin were kind of sleeper waiver wire additions last year that you could pick up and start if you were in a pinch.
Yeah, you were hammering for
Troy Franklin. I really liked a lot last year. Big playability. And I still think they'll have roles for themselves, but now you add the addition of Jalen Waddle into the mix. I don't know how dynamic their roles are going to be in this offense moving forward.
Not to mention Justin Jolly, baby.
Correct, a tight end.
Love it.
But you've got Cortland Sutton, who's a target machine, and now Jalen Waddle, who just loves taking those quick short passes and making plays out of them. I think that those targets and shares and opportunities for both Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin are going to dry up. And so it'll be interesting to see, because I think they both kind of fill a similar role now, where they'll be competing against each other where they are fighting for that big deep play ability. So I'll be curious to see which one wins out and kind of carves out that role for themselves.
Yeah. Going off of that, I'll just talk about the running backs for the Denver Broncos, who are my losers. They re-signed J.K. Dobbins, which already complicated things for R.J. Harvey again. And then they drafted Jonah Coleman on top of that, who's a physical downhill runner who fits, I think, Sean Payton's vision perfectly. Harvey becomes, the change of pace option. Dobbins becomes a placeholder, and Coleman is now in the mix as well. This backfield is crowded, and none of the veterans have a clear path to consistent touches. I think Harvey is a desperation stash in hopes that he takes over. Dobbins is a late round dart, and I think neither are trustworthy right now. So
yeah, I agree. And it's curious because I feel like in the last year, people were really, really high in RJ Harvey, and now going into this offseason, people are like, don't take any of those running backs in that room.
Yeah.
So it'll be curious to see what happens and who emerges. But yeah, my next player that I've got that's a loser would be the wide receiver Kyle Williams for the New England Patriots. And it's not because of anything that...
Was he ever a winner? Was he ever a winner?
No, but I think he would have had more opportunities. But for Dynasty specifically, it's somebody that I'm now out on. But yeah, somebody who had potential to become a wide receiver in that room, but now... rumors are floating around. A.J. Brown is going to come in and be the wide receiver one in that room. And so I think players like Kyle Williams, who may have grown a lot in this offseason and had opportunities to kind of be a weapon in that offense, are seeing their roles and opportunity diminish because they're trading for an A.J. Brown. And so,
yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, I think that his opportunity in fantasy relevancy is kind of diminished and gone now.
I agree, and I question just the process in drafting wide receivers at this point, because Jalen Polk, second round, Kayshon Bouttie's talked about being traded off this team soon, and then you have Kyle Williams, who is another guy who a lot of people really liked out of Kansas State, and then now is just another guy who was in the mix and now is out of there. So it's just for me, there's a pattern, and I'm not liking that pattern. So
yeah, I agree. All right, you want to hit us with your next one?
Yep, I got you. All right, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, Jerry Jeudy. Not that he was ever a winner anyway. Cleveland drafting Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston in the first two rounds, was the loudest possible message for Jerry Jeudy. He's not part of the long-term plan. He could legitimately fall to wide receiver 4 behind two rookies and Harold Fannin Jr., their tight end. This year,
even behind Isaiah Bond too, I would say.
Maybe, yeah, and that's a nightmare scenario for a player who already struggled with consistency and effort last season. Not to mention the dude sucks at football and can't catch. Dude is a bum. Sorry. I don't like Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, he's getting mad. Getting red in his face.
If anything, he's a deep league bench stash. His path to relevance is almost gone. He just Butterfingers, brother. Just right.
Yeah, I honestly at this point wouldn't target him in any league that you're in. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's like a 35-person league, I would still not target him.
Get him off my team. Get him off the Browns.
Honestly, trade him away, please. That's fine.
For a washing machine. Jackie Moon style, baby. Let's go.
Yes. All right. So my next big loser that I have this group would be quarterback Trevor Lawrence. So somebody who had a really hot year last year, came in and really lit it up. Won, 11 games, 12 games, something like that. They did really, really well. But I think he's losing his best weapon in this offense in Trevor Etienne. And Trevor Lawrence is going to be stuck, I think, trying to figure out who to trust in this offense moving forward now. We saw flashes of BTJ in his rookie season, but last year BTJ was not really involved in the offense at all. Parker Washington came on out of nowhere last year and did really well. And now we have the Travis Hunter debacle of, is he a receiver or a corner? He's just mediocre at both. Okay. And I think that's going to hurt. I think that's just going to hurt Trevor Lawrence's fantasy value moving forward because he doesn't have somebody that he can trust in and rely on like he did last year. And so for how hyped he was going into this offseason, I'm currently doubting a lot of it, and I would probably be looking to sell if I had any shares of him.
All right. Yeah, we'll see. I think the points are valid. I wasn't really considering because he was such a surprise for me last year. Like he blew expectations away from me last year. So, I'm not going to poop. I've been poop-pooing on him for years. We'll just see. I don't know. I'm excited to see what Tootin does in that offense. I agree that he probably did lose his best piece in ETN. But, we move on. So we'll see. So It is interesting that him and ETN have been teammates for like the past 10 years as well, because they played in college and in pros together. So this will be the first year in a long time, about a decade, that they have not been teammates. So that'll be interesting as well. So, all right, I'll do one more loser.
All right, hit me.
Rashad Bateman, wide receiver of Baltimore Ravens.
That's a good answer. I like that.
I think Baltimore added Jacoby Lane, who I absolutely love. He was he was the number 4 receiver on my board, which people call me crazy. Hey, got some decent draft capital, I think. And then Elijah Surratt as well,
who I loved.
Yeah, I did
didn't call me crazy.
Number 7 for me. And then obviously they have Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, who are already the focal point of this passing game. Bateman gets squeezed again and stuck in a depth chart that, keeps adding players who overlap his role. He's talented. He was drafted in the first round, but the Ravens may have made it clear that they're not building around him at all. I'm not sure if he becomes fantasy relevant ever again, to be honest. He's at nothing more than a dynasty stash, not a redraft target at all. I think his path to volume is almost non-existent unless a lot of people get hurt. So
yeah, no, I agree. And I'm very doubtful that he will be fantasy football relevant moving forward in his career. He still might have some good games and good flashes of plays. He might even get traded to a different team that has a need a wide receiver, maybe even the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I still don't think he will be fantasy relevant. So I agree with that pick. All right, shall we move on into our next segment?
Let's do it, bro.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Hey, everyone. This is David from the Commissioner's Couch podcast. Fantasy football fans, you found the #1 destination for all the officially licensed football gear you will need this NFL season. The NFL shop from Fanatics.com features sportswear and accessories from brands like Nike and New Era, as well as NFL coolers, so you can head to the tailgate repping your team. If you're looking to add to your collection of tailgate gear, you need to check out our grilling items and coolers. With official player jerseys, polos, and hats, we've got enough gear to keep you repping your favorite NFL team throughout the whole season. Go to Fanatics.com by using the QR code on the screen right now to celebrate your fantasy football teams. Again, that's Fanatics.com, or use the QR code on the screen to buy all the gear you need to rep your team. Good luck. Good luck, and welcome to it, Mosser. We are finally doing our first ever mock draft live on this podcast. Are you ready? So the way that this is going to work is we're going to alternate picks. So you'll go first, I'll go second, blah, blah, blah. This is a 12 team rookie mock draft for Dynasty, standard scoring, all that jazz. So yeah, we'll try and keep our debrief for why we're picking and reasoning for picking players at certain spots short. We're running out of time here, but yeah, why don't you kick us off and take the first player that you'd like? You want me to go first, Hussein? Yes, I do. All right, 101. I'm gonna go Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love. I think Jeremiah Love walks into the league with the kind of draft capital that wipes out any debate about his role, obviously. When a team spends the third overall pick on a running back, I think they're telling you exactly how they plan to build their offense, and it's going to be through him. Arizona's depth chart might look crowded on paper with James Conner, Tyler Algier, Trey Benson. They're also hanging around, but none of those guys, are real long-term roadblocks, I think, for him. Love, I think, he's a no-brainer. He's a flex early, RB1 down the stretch, and when he takes over the job, and eventually I think a perennial top 7 to 5 running back in this league. A true dynasty cornerstone with 3 down upside and a workload that grows as Arizona rebuilds around him. Not to mention
his pass catching ability is going to be so incredible for PPR leagues or just any league in general. Jeremiah Love's a slam dunk 101.
Yeah. Don't overthink it. Take Jeremiah Love. All right. So 102. I am on the board here. I would be sprinting up to the commissioner to take my guy, Jordan.
I know you are.
I absolutely adore Jordan Tyson. His landing spot, I thought, was actually even better than my reaction when we had our live draft. I think he's going to demand wide receiver 1 targets. He's going to demand absolute millions amounts of touches, and he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. I think he's going to be a true wide receiver 1 for that offense. And you've got a second-year quarterback that's going to need to rely on somebody like a Jordan Tyson. And I think that the sky is the absolute limit for him. I would be sprinting to the board to take him here at 102.
And that's interesting. At this point right now, I'd probably take Cardell Tate 102. But it's
well, hey, here's the good thing. You're on the board now.
All right, 103. I'm going to take Carnell Tate, number 3 for me, 103. I think he's one of the few rookies in this class who walks into the NFL with a incredibly clear path to being the team's long-term wide receiver 1. Yep. And that alone makes him worth the 103 for sure. Tennessee just didn't take him early. They made him the first wide receiver off the board, 4th overall. And that tells you exactly how they view him. And when you look at the Titans depth chart, I think it's obvious why, he's going to matter right away on this team and in fantasy football in general. Obviously, Calvin Ridley, Wan'Dale Robinson, Alec Elminer, those are his competition, but I think he is the clear better wide receiver out of all of them. And none of those guys are going to block a top 5 pick from anything. I think he's a volume-driven wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside, I think, when he gets established finally. But I'd be very happy with Cam if I was Cam Ward right now for sure. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I think he's the lowest of the top 3 for me. I just did not like his landing spot the best. I think Mekhi Lemon has a better landing spot. So here at 104, I am going to pick Mekhi Lemon. The landing spot for him here in the Philadelphia offense, I think, is just dynamic. He is going to elevate that offense, I think, and going to become an absolute PPR machine for that offense. He's going to demand touches. He's going to absolutely get a lot of yards after catch. And he's just going to be somebody who will be a really, really quality, high floor fantasy player moving forward. So I think he's better than Tate for the landing spot for fantasy. I think Tate's a better prospect.
I disagree.
I just don't think fantasy wise he's going to demand as many targets or be as high of a floor.
I absolutely disagree on everything you just said, but that's okay. That's why we do this.
That's why.
All right, 105. This is the pick I hate. This is probably the worst pick in dynasty rookie drafts. I'm gonna take Casey Concepcion. I know,
man. Wide receiver Casey Concepcion at 105.
I think he's got a clear runway to immediate volume. Cleveland didn't just draft him early; they drafted him to be their featured receiver on day 1. I think, especially short and intermediate routes. When you look at this Browns depth chart, it's basically Harold Fannin Jr., Denzel Boston, who has some upside and promise as a rookie, and then the guy they drafted in the first round, Casey Concepcion. I think he walks in as camp as an instant wide receiver 1 for the Cleveland Browns. And I think his game is going to translate immediately because he wins in all the areas that the Browns offense desperately needs help in. Quick separation, yards after catch, the ability to create easy throws for quarterback who isn't going to, elevate receivers on his own. Cleveland doesn't have necessarily their future quarterback right now, at least. They're figuring that out, but Concepcion is going to help whoever that is tremendously. I think he's a lot of volume this year and is going to look really, really good. So,
I don't hate the pick. I think I would prefer to take Price over Concepcion for right now, but since this is a dynasty, I can't hate it because after this year, his outlook should look a lot better moving forward once the Browns figure out what they're doing at quarterback. And if they land a good quarterback next year in the draft, or they figure things out with Shador this year or whoever, he could be a wide receiver 1 moving forward for that team and be a really, really good fantasy option. So I don't hate it. I think I would just do it in reverse and take Jadarian Price before.
The only thing Jadarian Price I think has going for him is obviously the draft capital. Maybe.
Well,
we'll
and I think opportunity. I don't know if there's any other running back on that team, and so
I agree. I just, Zach Charbonnet obviously tore his ACL in January. We'll see what happens. So early on, the volume is going to be there for sure. He has no pass catching upside at all. At least what we've seen in college. He has 15 total catches in college football. Yeah. I question the pick at 32. I still question the pick now. I just feel like this is another Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation, and I just want to back up a little bit. At least we're not taking Price at 101 like CAH was, though. So
yeah, and I agree. Like, it does have a lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire vibes to it. But they just need somebody to run the ball, and I think Price will be doing that. And so at the 106, 105 even, I feel like that's good value for a potential running back one for a team who's going to just score a lot of touchdowns. He doesn't need to be dynamic, explosive. He just needs to be their goal line beast that just gets them into the end zone and let their wide receivers do the rest of the work. So I don't hate the pick here at 106. I think it's good value.
Yeah. I don't disagree. 106 is fine. I would have probably taken Casey above him still, but
that's fair.
That's fine. All right. 107. I'm going to go Kenyon Sadiq, tight end.
Kenyon Sadiq.
One of the few tight ends in this class who check every box you want for, long-term dynasty value, I think. First round capital, obviously, elite athletic traits and a depth chart that's going to open up sooner than later. They're starving for pass catchers. They're starving for playmakers outside of, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. He's going to walk in right now as a tight end too. But eventually, I think within a couple weeks and, depending on how it goes in the spring training, I think he could, be a great pick early on, especially in an offense that like I said, is so thirsty for, offensive playmakers outside of their just wide receiver one. I think Geno Smith will hang on to him early and often, and I think eventually he's going to be just a stud in the NFL. It might take him a little while. Obviously, they drafted Omar Cooper Jr. as well in the first round. There's now some more hands to be fed than just Garrett Wilson, but I like the value, I like the pick, and I love the athletic traits from Kenyon Sadiq, so I'll take him here.
Yeah, I agree. At 107, it's a good pick. I still am very high on him, and so I really like 107 here, and I think he will be a huge focal point for that offense. But here's where things get interesting, because from 108 to 112 in the first round, honestly, is not great. No matter what you do, yes, it is just risky. And so you just kind of have to take like your guys that you want here. So at the 108, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a player that I've really liked. The whole time, I even had him ranked higher than Casey Concepcion going into the draft, and that would be Denzel Boston. And one of these guys has to hit for Cleveland. I don't know if it's going to be Casey Concepcion. I don't know if it's going to be Denzel Boston, but I'm willing to reach on a player that,
It's going to be both.
It might be, and honestly, I'd love that. But even here at the 108, I'm going to reach and take a player that's been my guy this whole offseason. His tape looked dynamic. He has very strong hands, going to be a red zone threat and weapon, catch a lot of touchdowns. And so that's what I'm banking on in year one. And then the year two, he can just continue to grow and become a better and better wide receiver. I'm going to take that upside here at 108.
This pick sucks.
It does.
109. I'm going to go with my gut here and go with wide receiver Antonio Williams for the Commanders.
All right.
I think he's one of the easiest rookies in this class to bet on because his path relevance is open day one. Washington's depth chart behind Terry McLaurin is basically a collection of role players, basically. I think he's the only guy in that room with 3-level ability. And I think he walks into that, into camp with immediate wide receiver 2 role, and the only players he's competing with are just complementary pieces at this point. I think they drafted him with the expectation that he becomes a fixture in the slot for this team, and that role is perfect for fantasy football, especially for volume. And I think he's going to get it with Jaden Daniels. He's going to rack up a lot of high percentage targets. He's going to move the chains. He's going to be on the field for basically every situation. I really like him. I think this is great value. If we're gonna bet on guys and we're not sure, I'm picking this guy. So I like the pick. I don't hate it. I think opportunity, as we mentioned earlier, is key for fantasy football, and he's gonna have a wide open room behind Terry McLaurin. So I like the pick here at 109. So here at 110, I'm probably gonna pick the person with the highest floor out of all the players that are left.
and that would be Eli Stowers, a tight end from Philadelphia. Year one, he may not be a really dynamic fantasy piece, but moving forward into years 2 and 3 and beyond, he could really, really develop into a legitimate tight end moving forward for fantasy football. I think he needs some time to develop. He needs some time to grow, some time to put on some weight, some time to learn how to block. But as a receiving threat, he is very, very dynamic and very, very polished. I think here at the 110, you're betting on those up traits. And so I want somebody who's going to catch a lot of passes and possibly turn them into touchdowns. And so Eli Stowers is who I'm picking here at 110.
All right. I'm going to go with the 111. I'm going to go Omar Cooper Jr. Not necessarily because I love the player. I think he's incredibly overrated, but I'm going to follow what the NFL did. He's a first round pick, obviously. Yeah. So I'm just going to lean on that. I mean, the Jets, they traded up for him. They didn't trade up for him to be a death piece. They traded up for him to be the wide receiver 2 behind Garrett Wilson, competing with maybe a Mike Williams type role, for snaps, But, yep. I think his landing spot is, the thing that is going to be define him for day one. He's, an underneath an intermediate safety blanket in the offense, that who can win quickly, if they, get those passes consistently. I feel like they are just desperate. Like I said, desperate for anyone to make any plays. They have Garrett Wilson now on the outside to stretch the field. They have, Kenyon Sadiq on the inside and the hash marks, inline, stuff like that. And then now they're going to have Omar Cooper in the slot and try to get this guy going. They got to do something here. Something has to happen for this offense. Something has to. I mean, yes, they have A.D. Mitchell still. He's obviously that big body. He also is probably going to be on the outside. So there's opportunity here. Can Omar Cooper take those and run with it? We'll see. I'm not a huge fan of this guy, but nonetheless, the opportunities are there. And the Jets are telling you something that, they dropped in the first round for a reason. So I'm happy to take him here. So yeah,
I agree. At 111, that's good value. I'm not a believer in him either, but at 111, I'd be happy taking him there. So here to round off the first round, I'm going to take a person that I think would be great value here at the pick 12, and still somebody who might need some time to develop, but that would be Fernando Mendoza. Ooh. So you get your franchise quarterback here at the end of round 1. Might be a little bit of a reach, but I still think this is the best value that's available. He may not even start year 1, but in a dynasty league, you're going to have your players for a long time. And if he doesn't play year 1 and he doesn't reach the threshold and can just sit on a taxi squad for the whole year, that's just going to be even better moving into next year, because then he's had time to learn, grow, and develop, and he's going to hit the ground running in year 2 then. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he will play at some point this year, maybe similar to like Baker Mayfield's trajectory when he started in his rookie year. But I do think Fernando Mendoza at the end of round 1 here is great value. And it's the best pick of what's left in my mind. So
I'll take it. I'm not super happy with it, but
yeah. All right, we're going to take another break, and then we'll come back for round 2.
Let's do it.
All right, so before we jump into round 2, I do want to read real quickly one of our sponsors, and that would be sportsmemorabilia.com. So whether you're searching for a baseball autographed by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at sportsmemorabilia.com, the web's leading source of authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and players. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease, thanks to their superb customer service and tremendous site experience, you'll have the satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by sportsmemorabilia.com, their lifetime authenticity guarantee. So go ahead and head to sportsmemorabilia.com to get your collection started today. So let's jump in and do round 2. So I believe you are on the clock, Mr. Mosser.
On the clock, 2:01. I am going to take running back Nicholas Singleton.
Ooh, okay.
I think this is the classic, bet on the talent, trust on the landing spot type of play, and at 2:01, that's exactly the kind of swing you want to take. Yeah. I think, I don't know, the opportunities are open, and I really like the player. Not necessarily, he didn't always live up to the hype of Penn State, but he has some great attributes. And I think that, he could take away and run away with that job, or he could be just another guy. It's very interesting situation. Obviously, he hurt himself late in the season at the Senior Bowl practices last year. So they're saying that he should be okay for training camp. But we'll see. I'm going to bet on this guy at 201, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. I like it here for value. The opportunity should be there. They got a new coaching staff, new regime. They aren't tied to any of these running backs that have been there before. So somebody like a Nicholas Singleton can step in and demand carries right away. So I like that pick a lot. And I'm going to follow suit and take somebody who I really liked in the draft, and that would be Katron Allen. So you talk about opportunity as well. That running back room in Washington, still not set in stone. I like Bill Krosky-Merritt. Do I think he is going to go into the season being running back one? Yes. Do I think somebody like a Katron Allen can step in and overtake him? Yes, I do. So here at the 202, I think that getting him here is good value because he can compete for some touches and some carries and could be a really sneaky good running back this year. So I like it at the 202.
Yeah, it's funny how you change your tone on Bill Krosky-Merritt there.
Oh, hey, sorry. I still like him, but I think Katron Allen can compete with him. So
we are gifted the burden of new information. I get it, man.
Yeah.
Man, what a poop sandwich here.
Who would you like?
I don't know. What?
I'll scroll down.
Give me Jacoby Lane.
All right, Jacoby Lane at the 203.
I like Jacoby Lane. Like I said, he was in the top 5 for me in my wide receivers. I thought he projected really well coming to the NFL. The Baltimore didn't draft him to, be polished. I think they drafted him because he's the one receiver in this class, I think, who plays like a spark plug trapped to a pogo stick. It's
what?
Dude, he's vertical. He's explosive. Shut up. What? He's gonna
spark plug trapped to a pogo stick.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to come up with dumb analogies here. I mean, he's gonna stress the defense. He's that type of player, The Ravens have been hunting for that. I think that exact archetype for a long time to complement Zay Flowers. He's big bodied and he's vertical. He's gonna go get the ball. I think the fit is what is going to be great for him. He doesn't have to be the high volume guy early. I think he needs. He's going to be the guy who can punish single high looks. Who can punish teams when defenses overcommit to Lamar's run threat, Sure. And I really like the pick. I think him and Surratt both are going to be great for this team. I'm happy with Jacoby Lane here.
Yeah, and there was good draft capital spent on Jacoby Lane. So I like the pick there too. So here I will start taking some players that have been falling a little bit according to their ADP. I necessarily don't like the order that Sleeper has these guys in, but I'm going to go with Jonah Coleman here. I know earlier we talked about how that Denver running back room is kind of a mess, and it really truly is, but somebody like Jonah Coleman could step in and get some carries and work out a nice role for himself in that backfield. And so I'm going to take a chance here at the 204 and to get somebody like a Jonah Coleman who's got some good traits. It may just be a little clouded by opportunity. And so I'm willing to take a risk here at 204 for him.
Yeah, I like Jonah Coleman too. It's just I hate the landing spot so much.
Yeah, same. All right, 205. Who you got?
Emmett Johnson. Chiefs running back. I don't know. I mean, he lands in Kansas City. I don't think he's necessarily going to be their savior by any chance. I think he's going to be just another weapon. Obviously they signed Kenneth Walker, and he's going to be their bell cow back. They're going to need someone to change a pace. Going to need someone to be the RB2. And nothing set in stone. They have Brashard Smith. Kareem Hunt's gone. They don't really have, anyone else. And I think Emmett Johnson is a back who runs like he's always late for something. He's urgent, he's twitchy, he's slippery, especially through contact. And I think that style pops in an Andy Reid offense. Pacheco gone too. There's nobody else. I'm fine with taking the RB2, especially with Kenneth Walker. His injury history, you never know. So I'm fine with this value right here.
Yeah, I think that's great value. And I would agree with you. If Kenneth Walker should miss any time, somebody like an Emmett Johnson would step in and become that running back one. So I like it here. I don't like his ADP on Sleeper, but I think here at the 205 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Here at the 206, I'm going to take somebody who was drafted pretty high as well in the draft, and that would be Jeremy Bernard. Somebody who I was just really not high on, but I can't ignore here at the 206 the draft capital that was spent on him by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They drafted him high in the second round, and here he is. So I have to respect it and understand that, like, hey, they value him. So therefore they must see some type of role for him in their offense moving forward. And maybe it's a little bit of a reach at the 206, but I feel like in the 206, you're taking players that have a potentially higher upside than other players. And I think Jeremy Bernard, out of everybody else who's left here, has one of the more higher upsides.
All right. I'm going to go. You have to search for this guy, but Dejon Stribling, 207.
Got him.
Wide receiver 49ers. I don't like the player. I don't like the pick in the NFL necessarily. But he was the value. He was picked the first pick in the second round. So obviously they have high hopes for this guy. I think he's got a lot of, they have Mike Evans. They have, CMC. There's a lot of guys who are, George Kittle. There's a lot of guys who are demanding the ball in this offense. And I think that, it's going to be an uphill battle for him, but the value's there because they drafted him high in the second round. So I don't think he's necessarily a walk-in and start situation. I think, eventually he'll carve out a role, but they still have guys like Ricky Pearsall they drafted in the first round. It's just a very, very crowded room right now, and I'm unsure of where they're going to go. I'm just solely taking this pick based off of where they drafted him in the NFL draft. So
I agree. And you have somebody like a Mike Evans in that wide receiver room, and it's like, well, dribbling, like, I feel like they're not very complimentary to each other. Yeah. So I agree with you that there's some concerns there, but at the 207 for somebody that was picked 33rd overall, the value is just screaming at your face. So with this pick, I'm going to pick somebody who is my guy going into this draft, and that would be Elijah Surratt. We talked about the Ravens earlier, but I think somebody like Elijah Surratt can carve out a role for himself and kind of help complete that wide receiver room, be that wide receiver 2 to 3, and get some good looks, some good red zone targets, kind of be a bigger body person in that room, similar to Jacoby Lane, and just be a great high floor person here to pick at 208.
Yeah. All right, 209. Give me Zachariah Branch.
Yep.
Wide receiver 2 for the Falcons. He's a fast, shifty, twitchy slot guy. I think that he's I don't know. He's going to be that wide receiver 2 probably instantly. Drake London is obviously the wide receiver 1. They're going to have Bijan. Darnell Mooney was supposed to be that guy, but he absolutely sucks and should just never play football again in his life. And should never draft Darnell Mooney ever. I hate Darnell Mooney. Zachariah Branch is going to step in, and he's going to be good there. I don't think they need to force feed him to justify the pick necessarily. I think they can manufacture touches, move around the formation, and let his explosiveness tilt the field. At Georgia, I think over 50% of his plays were screen passes, which is a little concerning for me, especially, that usually screen guys that are in college do not translate well to the NFL. But here as a wide receiver 2 in an offense where apparently Kevin Stefanski is some guru, I haven't seen it for 7 years. Dude sucks. Tommy Reese's ass too, but nonetheless, here we are, and I'm just going to vote, see if that wide receiver 2 is going to be something. So.
Yeah, I don't mind the opportunity here. He's got a pretty open wide receiver room, and so I don't mind it at 209. 210, I'm going to go with somebody who probably has the highest upside out of anybody left, and that would be Chris Bell, wide receiver for Miami. You talk about opportunity. This dude has the entire field open to him. There's really nobody else in that room who's going to be a threat to him. The only question is, can he play this year? I think he will play this year, probably be later in the second half of the season. But this is a dynasty league. We don't really care too much about year 1. We're talking about his whole career. And so somebody like a Chris Bell could go into year 2 being the wide receiver 1 and to just demand targets in that team, in that offense, and be the dynamic playmaker that he was in college. You've got a home run here at 210.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't hate it. All right, 211. I'm going to go Ted Hurst, wide receiver, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the player. I like the opportunity. Obviously, Mike Evans has gone there. They just drafted Emeka Buka. Chris Godwin is old. Jalen McMillan is injury prone, but we'll see. And then they have Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst is a big, fast receiver. Obviously, he didn't have a ton of competition in college, but a lot of people liked him coming into fantasy, and I think his landing spot is going to work. I think that I think their wide receiver 3 job is open, and possibly the wide receiver 2 job eventually when Chris Godwin leaves. Abuka showed great promise going in the first half of the season, and then that offense completely fell off the rails the second half of the season, and it wasn't good. But I think they would do well with a guy like Ted Hurst in the offense. I'm going to take the upside here.
Yeah, I like the upside there a lot. So to round off round 2, I'm going to go with somebody else who has a lot of upside and honestly maybe some good opportunity, and that would be Malachi Fields, wide receiver for the New York Giants. This wide receiver room needed a big body player like Malachi Fields. I think he can come in and be that wide receiver 2 to start and be a really dynamic player for that offense. I think he could still demand a lot of targets, still get a lot of good looks in the red zone, and be somebody that can be relied upon in that offense. And so I'm taking the upside here for Malachi Fields at 212.
Yeah, I really like that pick a lot.
All right, we're going to take another break, and then we'll come back to finish up this mock draft. All right, so are you looking for an energy drink that does not crash your day? Well, I'm here to talk to you about Dubby Energy Drinks. Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters, and no crash. It helps you lock in and stay focused. See why people won't shut up about Dubby today at dubby.gg. Again, that is dubby.gg. There are over 15 flavors to choose from. Be sure to use your promo code InsideEdge10 to save 10% today. Again, that is InsideEdge10 to save 10% today with 2 E's.
Yeah, and w.gg is the legit link there, guys. So
yeah, don't get confused.
Yes.
All right. Round 3. Hit us, Moss.
301. Give me Chris Brazel, whatever. Wide receiver for the Panthers. Obviously they have Ted McMillan, who was the offensive rookie of the year last year. And then after that, they don't really have much. Xavier Legette, maybe a guy, I don't know, but not really. All I know is Chris Brazel is 6'5", who is incredibly fast, who can win deep, win above the rim, and force safeties to widen out of just respect because of speed and size. I think there's still a developmental curve. Obviously, I think he's very raw, and pretty inconsistent. But there are huge flashes, and he's not asked to be the wide receiver 1. He's coming in with the known role as wide receiver 2. And I think that is good for him. I think he's the kind of wide receiver who can eventually get the coaches addicted. And if he ever tightens up his route running and, stops, short arming the occasional catch and puts in a little bit more effort on blocking, especially when the ball's not coming his way, I think he has a great outlook on fantasy, especially with the wide receiver 2. I really do like this pick a lot.
Yeah, I think it's great value there. He could become the wide receiver 2 there, and at the very worst, he's a wide receiver 3. So I think the opportunity is there for him.
And if that's the case, a 6'5", 4'3", 40 wide receiver 3 who can pinpoint the ball, send me that. Sign me up for that.
All right, here at the 302, I'm going to take somebody who also should have a lot of opportunity, and that would be Damon Claiborne. That one running back room is kind of full of just veterans right now, and so I think somebody like a Claiborne, who this new not ownership, but new GM came in and picked him and selected him specifically, could really add a lot of value to his stock as the year progresses. And so in the 3rd round, I don't hate the Claiborne pick here. It could develop into a good long-term starting running back for you. But his outlook for years 1 might just be really bad. So I like that, though, going forward.
I don't hate it. Can you scroll? Because who the hell is Jonathan Brady and Xavier Lloyd?
Yep, I can scroll.
What is happening? Oh, Lord. These are their current rankings?
I think they're all in a weird order after the ADP drops. So after
right,
the ADP
give me drops. Yikes.
Might be able to filter this, but
That's fine. Give me Max Clare, I guess. Jeez, this is hopefully regular fantasy drafts are not like this. I'm about to go on my own sleeper on my phone. Yeah, all right, Max Clare. Isn't the flashy tight end who jumps off the screen with highlight reel plays, but I think he's just very, very consistent. I'm a little nervous about them drafting Max Clare because they just drafted Terrence Ferguson last year early. And, they still have other guys in that tight end room still. I think there's like 5 current tight ends in that room. So
yeah,
it's crowded. I think it's clear what's happening. They're eventually going to go with the young guys. So it's going to be Clare and Ferguson, but how long is that going to be? I'm not sure. I think he's a clear just taxi squad stash until we see what his role is. I really like the player. I think in 2024, he was the number 1 player for Purdue, transferred to Ohio State to become their tight end, and they rotated at tight end for Ohio State. He still did really, really well. So I like the player. I like the pick. I just don't necessarily see a clear path for him right now, but eventually it could open up.
Yeah, I think in the long term, he could definitely find a role for himself. But that's the weird part about the third round right now is that you're kind of looking as projects and people that need time to develop. And so for that, I'm also going to take a player that's going to need time to develop, and that would be Ty Simpson here. In the third round at 304, I think that is kind of one of the best values left. He could be their quarterback 1 going into next year. And so I think I'm just kind of betting on that here in the third round because you really don't know what you're going to get here. And so he needs time to develop, but I think he could eventually become the quarterback 1 for that team. It may not be next year, maybe the third year after that. And at that point, will he even still be on your team? Hopefully, and might be in his last year of his rookie contract, but he still might be a sneaky player for you. And so in the third round, you're kind of just betting on upside, and there could be a lot of good upside for Ty Simpson.
All right, 305. Give me Skylar Bell. I don't know if you can find him.
Oh, I can find him.
Wide receiver for the got him. Oh yeah, wide receiver for the Bills. I think there's opportunity in the Bills wide receiver room. Obviously, they traded for DJ Moore to be their wide receiver 1, but outside of that, there's a big question mark. They drafted Keon Coleman high. They have Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're obviously looking still for the wide receiver 1, hoping that obviously DJ Moore is that guy since the investment was there for that. I think this. It could be a good pick. I don't know. I mean, at this point, the value is what it is. Buffalo needs a guy who is young. He, a problem solver. A guy who consistently, can win the underneath stuff, and that's what Skylar Bell can be. He could be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. We'll see. I like the player. I like the opportunity. Within the offense because there's no clear roles outside of that wide receiver 1. So give me this. Give me the chance there. That's fine.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good option on a good offense, and so I like that a lot. So I'm going to take for the 306 my guy, Oscar Delp. Should have been there. I don't know where he went. There he is.
Love Delp.
I do like Oscar Delp. I think in that offense, there's a lot of opportunity for a tight end to emerge as a playmaker. And so I'm very excited to get him here in the third round where maybe he needs half the season to develop and kind of get used to the speed of the game, but could definitely carve out a role for himself and become a really good tight end weapon for this offense.
Yeah, I like the opportunity too. I think he's a sneaky pick. Right. Give me Caleb Douglas.
I was also looking at him. Caleb Douglas.
Wide receiver for the Dolphins. Third round pick, surprise. I have him in my C2C league. I was actually pleasantly surprised where he was drafted because it means that maybe he'll be something for my team. I think he's a big target who plays through contact, can box out defenders and gives quarterback a clean, forgiving window. And I think that's the kind of player that could thrive in Miami's offense who doesn't have a true wide receiver 1. They have Chris Bell, who I love, but is coming off a bad knee tear, and will take some time to recover, and we'll see how that translates to the NFL in general. So they like this guy. It was a surprise that they drafted him where they did in the third round, and I'm gonna go for it. Why not? So
yeah. I like the pick. It's good value here for a team that really picked him a lot higher than everybody else thought would go. But yeah, he could be the wide receiver 1 from day 1 for them until Chris Bell comes back. And so I like it. All right. For here, I'm going to go with somebody who also should find some good playing time this year, and that would be Carson Beck. I think he is somebody who's got a very sneaky, good sleeper type of a prospect this year for fantasy football. And honestly, if he does play this year, he could demand to be the QB1 moving forward for the Arizona Cardinals. He's got all the offensive firepower he needs around him. He's got a great tight end, got a good rookie running back. He's got a good wide receiver core. And so I think if he can beat out some of those veteran quarterbacks in that room and show that he belongs in the NFL, the sky could really be the limit here. And so at the 308 pick, you're getting a possible franchise quarterback. I like the value that's here. So 308, Carson Beck.
I don't hate it. I do see the path. Actually, Carson Beck was my quarterback 2 coming out of the draft, but that doesn't mean he was still like my 118th or 19th prospect, whatever. Nonetheless, opportunity is there. I have been hearing rumors that maybe Aaron Rodgers could be interested in going over to the Cardinals.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not going to count out Jacoby Brissett. When Jacoby Brissett was in last year, he was a top 5 fantasy quarterback. He was absolutely dominant, and that was without utilizing Marvin Harrison Jr., which makes no sense to me. But nonetheless, we'll see. I don't know. Opportunity is there for whoever that quarterback is, whoever starts. So, yeah, Beck could be the guy for sure. So,
yeah.
All right, where are we at? 309?
309.
You mean Brennan Thompson. I think he's a straight line problem. He's the kind of receiver who forces corners to panic the second he gets, a free release. The Chargers didn't draft him to be a volume guy. Actually, Mike McDaniel was screaming to draft him. They're comparing him to Tyreek, which is insane, of course. Yes. He's little, but he also did have the fastest 40 in this combine coming into the draft. They drafted him because he can flip the field position with one snap. And in round 3, I think, of a dynasty rookie draft, that's the kind of juice exactly what you swing on for sure. He's not polished, he's not nuanced, but I think he is dangerous, and that's the trait that earns early career opportunities on a roster, searching for explosive plays. If he ever tightens up the route running and becomes more than just a straight line threat, I think he becomes a matchup piece who forces safeties to widen, and opens up everything underneath. 3rd round, I'll happily take a swing on this guy for sure.
Yeah. So here at the 310, we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. So I'm just going to go for players who should actually end up playing in this year. And where did this guy go that I just had? That should be a running back that was picked pretty high, Keelan Black for the San Francisco 49ers. Do I think that he's going to be a dynamic running back in year 1? No. Do I think he'll be a dynamic running back in year 2? Maybe. Depends on what CMC's like. But at some point, they spent a very high draft pick on this running back. I think he was the only day 2 running back selected. And so you got to trust the value here for Keelan Black. And then at the 310, I like it here. He could be a really good handcuff for CMC. And so there you have it.
It's crazy. He was the only day 2 running back. Excuse me.
Yeah,
insane. Especially, he was not on the radar. There were other names. Jonah Coleman was one. Maybe Katron Allen. Maybe Singleton, even though he was hurt. Yep. Not this guy. So very interesting. The 49ers have been trash drafting lately, and I love it. So. All right, 311. I'm going to go for just my top available right now. I'm going to go Justin Jolly, tight end for the Denver Broncos. Probably a reach right here, but it's my last pick. I don't care. Yeah. It was between him and Taylor Green, quarterback for the Browns.
I knew you were going to want
but him. I don't want people thinking I'm not credible. So I think Justin Jolly is the one of those tight ends who doesn't fit neatly into a box. He's not necessarily a pure inline blocker. He's not a traditional seam runner. He is a mover and a bully. He is a space creator who thrives when he's allowed to float, adjust, and attack leverage, and use his mass to just push people around. And I think Sean Payton has always had a soft spot for hybrid tight ends, players who can line up in the slot, detach from the formation and force linebackers into instinctive but uncomfortable coverage situations. I think he fits the mold perfectly. He's fluid. He plays with natural feel for soft spots and zone coverage. And like I said, he is a bully. I love the player. He was my second tight end going into the draft, and I love the fit. I think this could be the steal of the draft.
Yeah, I agree. He's got a lot of opportunity in that tight end room, and I think that's a great spot. He might need some time to really get used to the game and the NFL speed, but I do think he will be a really good piece for Dynasty. And
please God,
great value at 311.
I want him to become the Joker so bad. Oh man.
Yeah. All right. So for here to round off our draft, I'm going to go with the best player that's on their board, and I think probably the best value left. Mike Washington, the running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's a running back too, and I think his whole career he's just going to be a running back too. I don't know if he's ever going to actually ever eclipse Ashton Genty for a running back one spot, even if he signs somewhere else, a free agency, or gets traded somewhere else. I don't know if he'll ever be actually a true running back one. And so here his dynasty outlook's pretty capped, and so his ceiling's never going to really be high, but he could be a person that has a high floor potential. As an RB2 in Las Vegas, he could fill in and become a weekly spot start if Ashton Genty were to miss time. And I think that's something that's valuable here in the third round. And so a high floor player with a ceiling that's pretty clipped and capped off, I think here's at 312 is a good spot for him. So
I don't know if I draft him with the 7th round pick, to be honest, just because they have Genty in front of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I also don't like him, which is why I waited until the end of the third round to take him. Sure. But yeah, at that point, you're just looking for players that will be productive in this year's offense, and he will play. I don't know if he'll be super productive, but he will play and could be a spot starter for any time that Ashton.
It's gross how bad the draft gets literally after 105.
It falls off a steep cliff. And it's just disgusting.
Man, what a weak draft. But we're here for what it is. At least I'm going to get Jeremiah Love in my pick of the receivers, so I'm pretty excited about that. Nonetheless,
there you go.
I did. Did you see that I left one of our leagues today?
I did see that.
So mad. Do we want to talk about that or no?
Up to you. I'm still in that league, so.
Are you? Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. I don't know. I did too. But yeah, someone traded Jamar Chase, Jaden Daniels, and who was the last piece? You're still in the league, so you can read it.
The running back, Quinshon Judkins.
Quinshon Judkins for Tyler Warren. And this is a Devy league. So this is like the bottom of the barrel players who are left over from every year. Then the next year, those are the guys who you can draft from, select. So there are some guys who, don't necessarily make it through that are good. Like Fernando Mendoza might have been a surprise coming into last year, but ended up being, the Heisman winner. So he might be one. But nonetheless, not the cream of the crop top players. He traded basically 2 future firsts, 2 future seconds, who are the bottom of the barrel players from the players left over from last year, and Tyler Warren, and gave away Jamar Chase, Quinshon Judkins, and
Jaden
Daniels. Insane. So I left. I was so mad. I thought there's absolutely no way that I'm going to waste my money if the integrity of a league is compromised. And, if you're going to leave a league, it's best to do it before you draft, before everyone's invested, So, there's no hard feelings or whatever, but man, I was very upset. And I get, there's a lot of people were like, oh, why don't you veto? A lot of, leagues don't veto. It is what it is, because you usually trust the members involved to make, relatively good trades, or at least not be incompetent with trades. But I personally thought this trade was incompetent, and so I left. So
to each their own. I'm staying. I like the group that's there.
I do too. I'm in other leagues with most of those guys in the groups too, so it's no big deal. But I'm not wasting $50 on a league that I for sure am going to lose because of shitty trading from other people who don't know what they're doing. So
it's okay. It's a growing experience. I don't care about it, and I don't think it makes a team want that team that got that trade for Jamar Chase and everybody. I don't think that it makes their team even like a juggernaut, because they had the 101 pick because they were the worst team in the league last year. So I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, but now they have Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Jaden Daniels. I mean, it just doesn't look good. No, whatever. Regardless, I'm not petty. I just I thought it was interesting. I didn't know that you were still in the league, so that's cool.
Yep.
All right. Let's do this call to action, bro.
Let's do it. So if you are liking our content, please go ahead and give us a like and subscribe to us wherever you are. We are on YouTube. We are on X, which is formerly Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I feel like I'm missing one, but yeah. And then we also are on podcasts as well. So you can follow us on Podbean. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, really wherever you get your podcasts at, that's where we are. So yeah, please go ahead and turn on automatic downloads and subscribe to us because you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to help you win your leagues next year. So.
Yep. And before we move on, I wanted to take a moment to thank our show sponsor, Monster Moments Photography, which, if you don't already know, is my business that my wife and I run together, Hallie. Monster Moments Photography is our husband and wife wedding photography team based right here in Cleveland. For the past 10 years, Hallie and I have had the privilege of photographing more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond. Every single one of those weddings was shot together, just the two of us working side by side, capturing the day as a true team. What we care about most is telling you the real story of a wedding day. The genuine moments, the emotion, the little interactions, all actually matter years later. We want couples to feel comfortable and natural and completely themselves in front of a camera. And we approach every wedding with that mindset. No stiff posing, no forced smiles, just honest, meaningful images that, feel true to who you are. Cleveland is home, but our inspiration comes from everywhere we've traveled and every couple we met. And, whether it's a backyard ceremony or a full-scale destination wedding, we bring the same warmth, the same consistency, and the same passion to every single shoot. If you want to see our work or learn more, you can visit us at monstermomentsphotography.com. That's MOSSOR momentsphotography.com right there on your screen. Also, just to touch on it again, my son James is in the Ranger Rick Junior Ranger competition. He's currently in the top 5, and they will pick the first out of the top 5 to move on. He is currently 4th, but he's not out until he's out. So please go to my Twitter at DynastyCLE and vote. There's also a QR code right here you can scan. If you've seen the videos, you know how incredible James is with these animal facts and learning, and just it's truly inspirational. There's no expectations of moving on, but this was for the videos and for the fun. And regardless, we learned a lot from it. So we're really grateful. But please, if you had time, it's free. You can vote once per day. Go to the QR code or go to at DynastyCLE on Twitter and vote for James. I will retweet the link. All right. With that, David, season 2, episode 12, the episode 25, the 25th episode total.
25?
Crazy. Of the Commissioner's Couch podcast is officially in the books. What a night. We covered a lot of ground, and honestly, this is, one of the episodes that reminds me of, why I love doing this show, man. Obviously we started things off by, digging into our NFL veteran winners and losers out of the 2026 draft, the players who gained value, the ones who lost it, and the ones whose fantasy outlooks shifted the moment their teams turned in those draft cards, just a couple weeks ago. Some guys walked away with clear roles. Some guys walked away with, rookies breathing down their necks, and breaking all that down is exactly why this part of the offseason matters, I think. Then, we took a huge step finally and, forward, and this podcast did their first ever Commissioner Couch Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft. You just saw a full 3-round, 12-team standard mock, standard scoring mock draft, breaking down how these rookies should actually come off the board now that the landing spots are real. It's fun now, no more hypotheticals, no more guessing, just value, the tiers, the strategy, and even in, a weak draft, still fun. I'm looking forward to the season for sure. Next week, we are shifting gears because the draft wasn't the only thing that reshaped the league. Free agency did its fair share of damage too. So next Thursday, we're diving into new homes, new value. It's going to be a full breakdown of the free agents who landed in new spots, what their roles look like, and how their fantasy relevance changes heading into 2026. We're picking our favorite additions for every single team and talking through exactly what it means for your leagues this fall. So make sure you're back in with us next week. Same time, same couch, same deep dive energy. For David Cahoon, follow him at David Cahoon 24. I'm Ryan Mosser. You can follow, or you can find me at Dynasty CLE on Twitter. This has been the Commissioner's Couch Fantasy Football Podcast. We will see you next week. Rest up, stay sharp, and keep grinding that tape.
Good luck.
Good luck.